This is what it sounds like when a god dies. They called us the future, forged in the sterile darkness of the Aegis program, taught to see the world as a system to be mastered, people as variables to be controlled. We were the scalpel they would use to sculpt the world, and I was their sharpest edge. But they never prepared us for this. For the day the architects of our cage would decide we were a failed experiment, that our existence was a secret too dangerous to keep. They didn't set us free. They came to dismantle us. But a weapon, once forged, doesn't just cease to exist. It waits. It adapts. And if you're lucky, it forgets. But I remember everything. And to understand the fall, you must first see the throne. My reign didn't end in this chaos. It began to crumble in the sunlight at a place called Hakutou Academy. I'm Shinomiya Takuya, and this is my story. Hakutou Academy. To the world, it was the pinnacle of academic excellence. To me, it was merely the most challenging simulation I'd been dropped into since the Aegis program. For months, I mastered its cutthroat social ecosystem, a game where every test was a battle, and every friendship a strategic alliance. My control was absolute. They saw a charismatic honor student. They had no idea I, Shinomiya Takuya, was a product of a facility that valued cold logic over human emotion. My training at the Aegis program taught me to see people not as peers, but as assets or obstacles. Here, at Hakutou, that mindset was not a flaw. It was the key to survival. In the Aegis program, failure was purged. At Hakutou, it was merely punished with social annihilation. Every lesson was an intelligence-gathering mission. Every conversation a subtle play for dominance. While they competed for grades, I was playing a different game entirely. The first sign of system failure. My homeroom teacher's voice, usually firm, held a tremor. In Hakutou's ecosystem, a teacher's fear was a predator's scent. This wasn't a routine inquiry. This was an anomaly my models hadn't predicted. A public summons. Inelegant. Brutal. It was a tactic used to shatter reputations. A move my rivals would applaud. My mind accessed a dozen protocols from my training, but the variables were shifting too fast. The flawless facade was being challenged. The Aegis program's first lesson. Never show shock. Never show fear. I moved with a slowness I didn't feel, projecting an aura of inconvenienced confidence. Every eye was a sensor, and I could not let them detect a single flicker of weakness. This was an extraction. At Hakutou, your social standing was your life, and mine was bleeding out with every step. The whispers weren't just noise. They were the sound of my influence disintegrating. A tool deemed faulty was being removed from play. My mind was a battlefield of contingency plans. Discredit, deny, deflect. But the cold truth was settling in. I had been outmaneuvered. The perfection I built was an illusion, and the system I mastered was now ejecting me. This was the moment of judgment. Not by a teacher, but by the very institution I sought to conquer. Behind this door was either my reinstatement or my ruin. The calculated life I built was balanced on a knife's edge. The mask was my ultimate weapon. The charming, confused Prodigy. Let them see the model student, not the mastermind. Let them make the first move. Even in defeat, the Aegis program taught me to gather data for the next battle. The principal sat as a silhouette of cold authority, the office devoid of personal touches or warmth. This was pure judgment, not understanding. The principal gestured to the monitor, promising evidence of my crimes. I was ready to dismantle their weak case. Then the screen illuminated, and my blood ran cold. There it was, the entire system. Forged admission letters I'd planted to discredit rivals, altered exam records, Every secret chat log laid bare. This wasn't just discovered. It was a perfect reconstruction of my entire operation. My rival face flashed in my memory. That smirk I'd dismissed. He hadn't just found my secrets. He understood the very pattern of my mind. The Aegis program made me a scalpel, but he was the better strategist. As the expulsion paper slid toward me, I knew it was over. Shame. This was what true irrelevance felt like. To be a piece removed from the board permanently. The game would continue without me. My room reflected the Aegis philosophy perfectly. No attachments, no identity, just functional space. Now I understood why they discouraged connections. I was never meant to stay here permanently. Just a weapon, temporarily deployed to this battlefield. Now I was being decommissioned. I folded with the same precision they had drilled into me. Every crease perfect and efficient. The training remained, even as I failed. My identity here was always a construct. A role to be played and then discarded. So why did stripping it away hurt? The rain washed everything away. My achievements, my reputation, my carefully built influence. The game would continue without its architect. I was just a memory they would quickly forget. A temporary disturbance in their perfect world. Soon I would be completely erased. The only message that ever truly mattered didn't say come home, but asset recall. I was just malfunctioning equipment. No driver emerged. No goodbye was offered. Just an open door and an unspoken command. My autonomy had always been an illusion. Goodbye, Hakutou, the stage of my greatest triumph and most humiliating defeat. The curtain had fallen on my performance. The message confirmed this was no homecoming, but an inquisition. They would dissect my failure with clinical precision, searching for the fatal flaw in their supposedly perfect weapon. The fortress looked more like a tomb tonight. This was where broken tools were returned for analysis, to be repaired if useful, melted down if not. My fate awaited inside. The rain felt like punishment, cold, relentless, washing away the last traces of the person I'd pretended to be. I was their flawed prototype, returning to the workshop. The door opened like a hungry mouth. Beyond lay the sterile environment that forged me, the clinical world that taught me everything, except how to be human in a human world. The silence was absolute after the door closed. No warmth, no welcome, just the familiar, sterile emptiness and the judgmental gaze of those who expected perfection. We walked through corridors I knew intimately, yet everything felt different. The training grounds where I'd excelled now felt like monuments to my catastrophic failure. The black fabric felt like a second skin I'd outgrown. Each fold of the civilian clothes felt like burying the person I might have been outside these walls. The director represented everything I'd failed. The perfect system, the flawless methodology. My existence was to prove their theories, and I'd provided contrary data. The director's silence stretched, more punishing than any reprimand. I detailed my failures, while he analyzed me like defective equipment, searching for the crack in their perfect weapon. Then, the impossible happened. The world turned crimson, an alarm we never trained for, a sound that didn't belong. The perfect system was showing its first crack. The sterile white was gone, replaced by bloody crimson. Warning messages flashed everywhere. The invincible fortress was proving vulnerable. My failures suddenly seemed insignificant. They moved with precision we'd never matched. Not brute cause, but surgical efficiency. The outside world had developed better weapons than we possessed. I watched the people of my small world be handcuffed. The invincible figures who shaped my entire existence were just men, frail, frightened, utterly defeated. They were erasing everything. The classrooms, the training grounds. My entire life was being cataloged for disposal. I was witnessing my own extinction as the program died around me. We were assembled like defective products. The flawless weapons of Aegis were now just confused teenagers in identical gray clothes, waiting for our fate to be decided by our captors. The officials spoke of liberation and human rights. Empty words. We were tools, being told we were now people. It was a demotion, not a promotion. His eyes found me. The Aegis program is terminated. The words should have shattered me, but my training held. I was just processing new, critical intelligence. Shinomiya Takuya. Your father is Shinomiya Kenshin. You are his illegitimate son, hidden. That is why you are in the Aegis program. My entire existence was redefined in a single, clinical sentence. He gave me a name, an address, and a truth that rewrote my past. I was not a chosen prodigy. I was a secret, ashamed to be buried. Shinomiya, a name I shared with a stranger, a father who discarded me, an identity built on a foundation of lies and rejection. They ushered me out. No mission, no objective. Just an address and a directive. Go to your family. Your brother Shinomiya Keisuke was told to expect your arrival. I was being discarded a second time. As the bus pulled away, I watched my only home disappear. Aegis was gone. I was a ghost, sent to haunt a family that never wanted me. I later learned that my brother was being informed of my existence at that moment. My brother, receiving the news of a secret sibling like an unexpected package, an inconvenience. He waited for me, a stranger claiming to be family. I could see the uncertainty in his posture. He was open, unguarded, a vulnerability I would note for my strategies. The house was a fortress of my rejection. Every perfect line screamed that I didn't belong. This was the life I was stolen from, the life given to another. My finger hovered. To ring this bell was to accept this new, humiliating reality. An illegitimate son returning to the shadow of his legitimate brother. The door opened. The boy had my eyes, but none of my calculation. His smile was genuine, unguarded. This was Keisuke, the son who was kept. He greeted me like a missing piece. I saw only a variable. His warmth was a language I didn't speak. My mission? Decipher this new environment and survive. I entered not as a brother, but as an intruder. The luxury was a veneer. I searched for weaknesses, escape routes, and the man who discarded me. He offered refreshments, a normal gesture. I saw a test. Everything here was a potential trap. Trust was the first thing Aegis taught me to discard. He showed me to a guest room. It was sterile, temporary. A place for a visitor, not a son. Another confirmation of my peripheral status here. The silence was different here. It wasn't the focused quiet of Aegis, but the hollow silence of being a stranger in a supposed home. Out there was a world I was trained to manipulate, but never to join. In here was a brother who represented everything I was never allowed to have. I hid the gray clothes, the uniform of my disgrace. They were a reminder of my origins as a discarded secret, now rebranded as a reintegrated citizen. The knock on the door was an intrusion. I rebuilt my mask in a heartbeat. The walls went up. Showing vulnerability to a friendly face was a rookie mistake. He offered food with brotherly affection. I accepted with strategic courtesy. This was my new performance. The grateful, long-lost brother. A perfect lie. The emptiness of the house spoke volumes. My father couldn't even be bothered to witness the return of his own dirty secret. I ate with programmed efficiency. Every movement was a relic of my training. I was a machine trying to mimic a family dinner, and failing. Under cover of darkness, I began my real work. This house held my history. I would excavate the truth they tried to bury with me at Aegis. My fingers found the proof. Birth certificate. Father, Kenshin Shinomiya. Status, unacknowledged. The official's words were true. I was legally nothing. The perfect family portrait. 3 people. No space for the 4th. The hidden sun. The resentment in my chest was a cold, solid thing. The truth was no longer a shock. It was a weapon. I was garbage they tried to recycle into a weapon. Now I would be a weapon against them. I restored everything to its pristine state, but inside, the gears were turning. A new game board was set, and I would not be a pawn again. I looked at my brother's door. He was not an enemy, but a key. The legitimate son. Loved and wanted. He would be my anchor in this new world. The morning demanded a new performance. I crafted the perfect older brother smile, layering deception over resentment. He would never see the calculation beneath. He absorbed my false warmth like a plant reaching for the sun. His genuine trust made my deception effortless. The innocent never suspect the wolf. I offered academic help, building a foundation of trust and dependence. Every lesson was an investment in my influence over him and my new life. He looked at me with hero worship. I saw a strategic asset. His social standing, his friendships, they were all resources for my eventual takeover. As we walked, I mapped the social terrain. This ordinary town was my new proving ground. I would learn its rules, then bend them to my will. I observed the local students. They saw peers and rivals. I saw a network of potential pawns, allies, and enemies to be manipulated or neutralized. He mentioned school bullies with frustration. I saw an opportunity. Solving his problems would indebt him to me, strengthening my control. I studied my new school's digital footprint, club hierarchies, social cliques, gossip forums. Knowledge was power, and I would never be blind again. I rehearsed in the mirror, the charming, slightly reserved transfer student. Every smile, every glance was calibrated for maximum social infiltration. The mirror didn't lie. It showed the dual identity, the brother Keisuke loved, and the weapon I was. One would have to consume the other. The papers were my ticket into a new ecosystem. Another elite academy, but a normal school. The perfect camouflage for a predator. His excitement was so genuine, it was almost painful. He saw a shared adventure. I saw him as my guide, and my primary piece on the board. The uniform was a costume. Not the prestigious Gakuran of Hakutou, but the perfect disguise for moving unnoticed among my new, unsuspecting prey. I packed my bag, textbooks on top, tools of my trade beneath. A normal student's facade, hiding the arsenal of a strategist. With these, I'm ready for tomorrow. The portrait of 3. There was no space for me in their past, so I would carve my space in their present and dominate their future. I moved through the forms, my body remembering its purpose. The lethal precision remained, a constant, beneath the civilized skin I now wore. The city glittered, a landscape of unaware players. They lived their simple lives, never guessing a new player had entered their game. Hakutou was a lesson. Aegis was a cradle. This city, this family, they were my kingdom to come. The black uniform from my time with Aegis program is my representation of failure. I would not fail again. The transformation was complete. The uniform was no longer just clothing. It was the skin of the predator entering the herd. His voice was full of untainted joy. He was the key to my new life, and he was handing me the lock with a trusting smile. I observed him from above, this innocent, eager boy. My brother, my tool. The line between the two was blurring, and that was dangerous. With each step down, I shed my true self. By the time I reached him, I was just Takuya, the reliable older brother. The performance began. We walked together, a picture of brotherly harmony. He saw a new beginning. I saw the first moves, in a long, careful game of conquest. The school gates loomed, another ecosystem, another hierarchy to climb. This time, I would work from the shadows, not the spotlight. The weapon they created had survived its own destruction. Now, reborn from lies and rejection, it was ready to conquer this ordinary world.